What is going on, everyone? Welcome to a Thursday's edition of the Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin. I'll be joining here for the next 2 hours. I want to go ahead and apologize for the absence over the last few days. Tuesday, I had a pretty big doctor's appointment that I had to get to. And when, I was kind of figuring, it was around midday. So I was like, all right, so I ended up sleeping in on Tuesday, went to the appointment, got up, got ready, went to the appointment, and then just the conversation we had, because this type of appointment is to kind of determine and talk about potential surgery on my lower back, and they were talking about some methods that in order for me to get done, I would have to I say I would have to do certain things over the next few weeks to try to help me get into the condition of getting into back surgery. So it was kind of a rough day for Tuesday. And then yesterday on Wednesday, talking about everything with the weather storms that went through, and putting on a program wasn't the big issue during the weather conditions. We had some lightning, some weather storms, tornado watch, stuff like that in the area. But what ends up happening in my location is that when we have these type of crucial weathers or these unpredictable weathers, or when the weather just becomes more cold, it really does take effect on the streaming services on which, with the connection to internet, because this stream is connected to the internet. It's not connected straight on, it's connected to Wi-Fi. And so that way I could stream wherever I want to go and stream through. So, I was just like, I'm not going to test it. It was getting later in the day. The winds weren't slowing down. The weather was just seeming to get worse. So I decided, all right, that's it. I'm not going to do it. I just play safe than sorry, because the last thing I want to do is go out there and put on a crappy content. So, but we're back here today. We have a nice weekend coming up. Take the oldest to practice later on this afternoon. Also being able to a couple big events coming up on tomorrow and on Saturday, which I am excited about. Very nervous, but also very excited. So I'll explain that to you guys a little bit later on in our program. But I'm going to get right down to business, you guys. Okay? And Monday we came on here and we broke some very big breaking news. And it wasn't just breaking news. This is a change of history. And, I don't know. I'm going to get my statement here is going to give out different thoughts on what maybe, people like or didn't like. And the moment and we're talking about the Vince McMahon selling the WWE to endeavors to emerge with UFC in a $21.4 billion sport combat company. And so as soon as this news breaks out, I get streamed, and get ambushed with a whole bunch of messages of what's going on, why is what's the X, Y, and Z factor of this. And so, I looked at this, and so I want to go into detail. exactly bits and pieces with you guys. So that's what we're going to do to kick off the program here today. So this is how it works. All right, this is kind of how the chain of command goes. We got Ari Emanuel, who is Endeavor's and new CEO or new co-CEO to the WWE. We have Vince McMahon, who's the new CO executive chairman to both companies. We have Mark Shapiro, who is Endeavor's and new co-president and COO. We got Adam Schlemmer, who is, or Jason Lublin, who is Endeavor's CFO. We have Andrew Schlemmer, who is the new CFO. We have Dana White as the UFC president. Lawrence Epstein is the UFC COO. And Nick Kahn is the WWE president. So we have that's kind of how this is going to work in the chain of command on all of these titles. Which means, if you think about it, Ari Emanuel is the final, say forth, and then Vince McMahon is right underneath. And so what I want to know, and I think the design of today's program and to kick off the show, I think is important because I think we need to understand the breakdown of all of this. And this is where my opinion may be different from yours. This is going to be where I am, may go off on the edge. But just hear me out for a quick second. Okay? So, first of all, is WWE being sold to Endeavor the right decision to make? And when I think about this, and I actually had to understand a little bit more. We broke the news, we broke the article, and I'm like, okay, so we knew that this process was going to happen. We knew from day one that the WWE will be selling the company since the beginning of the year. This is the reason why Vince McMahon came back. He took a leave of absence in regards to acquisitions that were made towards him last year. And we really didn't know the future, but we knew Vince McMahon. If you know Vince McMahon any of the last 40 years, watching him run the WWE, he's not just going to drop over and fall flat to anyone. But he made a decision last year to step away because he needed to realign himself and figure out the business, everything that happened, of the allegations that came through. And I'm not going to put in my input if he is guilty, not guilty, whatever the case may be. It is what it is. It's happened. He came back, and then he made us believe that he's coming back to sell the company and make sure that the transition was smooth. Well, you talk about Endeavor's a sport combat company, and you compare it against places like Disney or Saudi Arabia. Well, first of all, I did not like that Saudi Arabia. It was a bad taste in my mouth when there was a false report on it, and it came to me very shockingly, right? And I think it was I think a lot of people would have agreed that if WWE went to Saudi Arabia, this would have been a disastrous outcome. But then we saw people, companies like Disney, and I'm like, Disney would be ideal, problematical, right? Because we see how successful Disney is in ESPN, but I don't really think that over time Disney would definitely, tone down the wrestling info. I mean, we see Warner Bros. with AEW and stuff like that. And so Disney, although it was a good thought, I think honestly, it's for me. I call it a good decision that the WWE was sold to Endeavors. I mean, other than maybe passing it down through the family or finding a wrestling family, like I mentioned, how the WWE was, like Perfect Guy, Dwayne Johnson. And I don't know the reasonings, ins and outs of why he couldn't be considered, but it's all said and done. Endeavor owns the WWE now, and it is to a wrestling company or to a sports combat company that I think has the intentions of the rich history and knowing how rich this history is. This is obviously not, then Endeavors is not going to allow WWE to vanish anytime soon. I'm talking about anytime soon. But there are some harsh realities that comes with being Endeavors, right? Being with Endeavors. Okay. And, we may not see those harsh realities right now, but you say that the company is good right now, in good hands. And I strongly believe that when it comes down to a company that has been thriving, especially with UFC, and just imagine what they could possibly do with the WWE. And I get a sense of, all right, we gotta, that something, things are going to be changing. And what I want to come back to the first segment of today's program is kind of coming and talking to you about things that could be changing. And one of them right now are something that fans are just frustrated for. The athletes and the roster is upset with, and I get it. And it's even come to the point where people are going to boycott the WWE if something doesn't get changed. And it looks like to be very, very soon. So I guess I'm interested in learning a little bit more about that, how long that's going to last. And we'll definitely dive into that in today's first segment. So the pros and cons and the things that we could see eventually change, as well as Vince McMahon being back in the driver's seat of the creations in WWE. So we have a lot to talk about today. The Cincinnati Reds will not play today, as they had also a day off yesterday because of weather inclements. They are in Philadelphia to start off on a 20-game, 20-day series. And we'll talk all about that in hour number 2. I want to talk to you about everything that is going on this weekend, because this weekend is such a huge weekend for me, such a huge weekend for this program, such a huge weekend for this channel, that hopefully, if, first time being able to go live in a public area. So I'm excited to see the opportunity that it presents itself, and hopefully this is one of many opportunities that could be given. So we'll be talking to you about that and getting you guys ready for that. We'll talk to you about a little bit about the Cincinnati Bengals. My question is about quarterbacks, kind of get you ready a little bit for the weekend, because college baseball begins their 3-game series weekend today with Cincinnati and with Xavier. We'll tell you all about that also. And also the Cincinnati Reds having their first series of games. Where do they stand now? Who do we like and who do we don't like? So a lot of that still to come. We want to thank everyone who is watching us on YouTube. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Be sure to have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. If you guys are tuning us in from Facebook or our Twitter page, we thank you. Welcome. If you're not, head on over there. Give us a follow, TNC Sports Talk. Find our channel, like it, share it with a friend, and get as many people involved as possible. We're just talking about nothing but sports here, you guys. If you guys want to get into the comments, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about all these stories and subjects. Leave us a comment down below, especially in the YouTube chat where I could definitely see you and get you guys out here on the stream. If you guys are downloading us, taking us out on the road, wherever you guys go, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, we are on all major platforms. We thank you, and thank you guys for making this your daily sports podcast. So we'll take a break. We're going to take our first time out. Come on back and talk more about this luxurious deal here in the WWE. Thank you guys for tuning into the Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. $12:22 here on the program. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. None of this is possible without the assistance and product StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. And if you guys are looking to make your own videos, podcasts, host virtual business meetings, and even to conduct interviews, check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. All right. Before break, so we're going to come back into this segment and highly talk to you guys strictly about everything that has unraveled over the last, I don't know, say 72 hours. This is still all new to us. This is first time in history that in the last 40 years, and first time I think in ever, that we are not having a McMahon owning a professional wrestling company. And although Vince doesn't own the company, he still is in control as he is the CEO. And as we clearly saw yesterday, back on Monday Night Raw, he has no problem reinserting himself into the creative parts. And we're going to talk a lot about that because I know it's frustrating and I think it's upsetting. But there's a couple of things I think people need to understand at the end of the day, as frustrating as it's going to be. And it's not just going to be frustrating because of Vince McMahon back in the creative suites, and we don't know how long he's going to be there. But it's also going to be very frustrating because we're going to see over a period of time, we're going to see endeavors make changes to impact the business. And, I think a lot of the impactfulness is intended to be good, but is how Endeavors worked. And let me remind you, Endeavors has helped UFC to grow to become a valued $12+ billion company. And that's the plan by merging UFC and WWE simultaneously to have these two companies become one of the largest sports combat companies in the world. But what are some pros and cons? Well, one, we don't have the actual final say is Ari Emanuel. And let's be real for a second. If Vince McMahon is doing something that Ari doesn't want, let's say 6 months, a year down the road, we can very well see Ari overstep his power and get rid of Vince McMahon because the WWE isn't thriving the way that he needs it to thrive. So, yes, Vince McMahon has a lot of control, has a lot of say, and a lot of power. It's going to be up to Ari to really make sure that that is right for business purposes. It's kind of hard because, as I mentioned to you guys back in on Monday about watching WrestleMania and how I felt watching Rey Mysterio, John Cena, Edge. This is that, these are core guys that I grew up watching every Friday night and Monday night on Raw and SmackDown. These are the guys that got me into wrestling, that molded me into a fan that I am today. And then you saw guys like Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, who were the reasons I remained a wrestling fan after their time you knew was coming down closer to an end or very limited. And then there's guys like Austin Theory, Dominic Mysterio, who are your next generational talents that are just waiting for that spotlight, right? So I was talking to Steve from Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. And I just texted him today. I was asking him that question, and some people take it differently. He mentioned that they're just kind of all the same. You just move on like you move on baseball players. But see, the difference is that yes, this would be something different if we were in the 80s and baseball, football, and basketball. Once you got drafted to that team, that's the team you stayed for your entire career. Today, in today's sport, we see more so than not that these athletes they get they do their arbitrational contracts, and as soon as they hit they get out there and they hit the market, and they're able to, they jump out so they can hit free agency. WWE is that top wrestling program, always been in my eyes, still above AEW. And you kind of want to go, sports players are going where the money is, right? You're going to jump ship from, Padres to the Phillies because they're going to offer you $200,000 more. And you don't see that happening a whole lot in professional wrestling in general. Usually you're moving up, but you don't go side to side. You move up in the world, right? When it comes down to players retiring also, it's hard. I think it's difficult to say, all right, this is the career that you had. Thank you, go move on. But yet again, there's enough talent down below that's already ready to come up that you're kind of already building up excitement. I think that's something maybe the WWE has also lacked over the last 10 years. But it's also just stuff that, like I said, I think there's a bit of a difference between loving, the guys who made you, the guys that are reasons that you became a fan, to now seeing them retire, and it's not the same wrestling that it was 15, 20 years ago. And then we see Vince McMahon. I think for me, and I was telling a friend the other day about this, is that there's going to be one day that Vince McMahon will no longer be on this planet Earth. And it is, we understand. I think there's a lot of fans that understand where we feel about Vince McMahon. He is this historical guy. He's a future Hall of Famer, and he has etched his name. And whenever you talk about the WWE, you have to mention Vince Kennedy McMahon. Well, there's going to become a day where Vince will no longer be here, and we're going to truly miss some of his fatigue, his inspiration, his, even if it's lack of creativity that a lot of people are calling it right now, then we're going to miss that. And I know that for a fact it is upsetting, it is frustrating because as fans, we want to see a direction in professional wrestling. We want to see a direction of stories just making sense. And sometimes with the lack of creativity that Vince has as of late, and that means no disrespect to Vince, but he does carry a lack of creativity lately. We've seen what happened in 2021, 2022. It was terrible, and it made it very difficult to watch the product. And but here's also the troubling side, because Vince McMahon has been such a successful businessman. How can you go against him even if you don't agree what he's throwing out there? Because at the end of the day, though, you're still watching the product. At the end of the day, you're still tuning into Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and these pay-per-views. At the end of the day, we are still supporting the WWE, buying their merchandise, buying tickets to go to these venues, getting these title belts, getting these t-shirts, paying for the parking, paying for the Peacock subscription that has these pay-per-views lined up on. So regardless of the product that's out there, WWE is such a big entity that regardless of what it does, to be honest, it could go out there and throw out, I don't know, the Teletubbies for 3 hours and still bring in money. And it's going to take them a very long time of that work order for to actually see a downfall of the WWE. And as long as we are tuning in, then it becomes then they're just going to win. You know, what are we going to do as fans? Are you going to stop watching wrestling? Is there enough people on this planet Earth that's going to stop tuning into Raw because of Roman Reigns? This is our content creator. This is what we talk about on our show. So why would I stop watching Monday Night Raw if I get to come on here the next day and talk about this product? Even if it's the most crappiest product out there on planet Earth, we're still here talking about it, right? We're still feeding into it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that as long as Vince McMahon is CEO, as long as he has the final say and final control, and as much as I appreciate it, because one day he will be gone, there is nothing that us fans or us, podcasters, content creators for WWE or professional wrestling in general are going to be able to do anything about it. There are wrestlers that have expressed their frustration and they have asked for releases, and I understand that. I'm not saying no, that, listen, you're entitled wherever you work at to go and enjoy your workspace. Sometimes you don't want to work for Vince. You don't have to work for Vince. There's other wrestling promotions. But let me tell you right now, I don't believe that AEW has a one-way ticket for the top of the line right when you sign, to be honest. Okay, not many people are going to be able to quit WWE, go to Impact, go to AEW, and be this glamorous top star. You sometimes, you know what? I'm sorry. You sometimes, if you're not AEW, you're not in WWE, you get dropped off the planet of the earth. There's not a lot of people talking about Impact Wrestling day in and day out because it's not as big as AEW, WWE. Even AEW, Tony Khan. I'm no disrespect to Tony Khan, but there's been athletes after athletes after athletes that sign, and they get pushed down to the bottom or the mix, get lost in the mix, and that becomes an issue. And what I think the only thing that could potentially happen is if the entire roster of the WWE decides, all right, we're done. We don't want this. We want Hunter. We want Paul Levesque back. And Vince, we don't want you having a say. And the only way that we're going to get that is by you actually leaving the company. And therefore, we're not going to go out there. We're going to boycott and protest the WWE by not going out there and putting on these matches and putting on these shows until we get what we want. But it takes the entire staff, it takes the entire locker room of athletes, men and women, all right, past and present and even future, to step up and face this one man. And I think that's the only way that we're going to see him out there. Now, I hope that, this is one thing, this is something that Vince McMahon does for I don't know, 6 months to a year, because he still wants to fill in part of it, and then slowly understands, all right, I got to step away. But we've asked ourselves that for the last 3 years, and we still haven't seen that. It's frustrating. It's frustrating for me because I see both sides, points of view. I understand that when you live and breathe this sport, this is Vince's livelihood, and you're asking him to take that away for X dollars amount, it becomes a bit difficult, right? You think about maybe taxes that he has to understand. He keeps himself busy. He's going to be living, breathing this sport until he dies, right? Until you wake up in the morning and you see, all right, no more. Vince McMahon passed away at the age of 78. God forbid he has another 10, 15, 20 more years. He's a dinosaur here. But until, I feel like that's the way he's going to go. But I think remaining as CEO is fine as long as he, at some point, he understands his role, and his role is not being in that creative team. But we're not going to do nothing about it. Let's face it. WWE fans, you're still going to watch the product. And even if you don't, you're going to watch it. Went a little long on this segment. I want to wrap up because I want to talk to you about the benefits of endeavors in owning the WWE. And I think this is also another statement regarding Vince McMahon. And we're not going to probably see it right away, to be honest, but we will see it. And when we see it, it's going to also be another big blow besides Vince McMahon taking over the creative spot once again. And I want to point out this. And so, all right, you know what? I'm just going to save it. Let's come back from break and let's talk about this at the bottom of the hour. You guys are listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
I want to live your life. I want to dream your dreams. Lick the moons, catch them stars in the night. Every superpower that is yours will be mine. I'll be that it girl, pouting mouth, crossing the line.
Alrighty. Well, welcome on back here to the Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. It's a bit frustrating, especially coming after the announcement on Monday, that really takes away from the WWE and from WrestleMania and how successful WrestleMania was, because it was a really good show, both left and right. And I think it's a bit frustrating when you wake up Monday morning and we should be talking about the WWE. We should be talking about WrestleMania 39. And we honestly should be talking about, what's going on Monday Night Raw, what can we expect, who's going to return. And then we get broken down to the WWE, Vince McMahon making the highlight news, stealing the spotlight from, the men and women who went out there for 2 nights and put on one hell of a stellar performance, right? And Vince McMahon even said, listen, I took from what I took away from Vince when he went out there on Monday to the news on television, saying that, this is the stage where I think it's best for business if I step back and just take more of an executive role. And then we see him jump into a creative spotlight. But you know what? I don't know why. Is it part of desperation? Is it part of still wanting to be relevant and not be forgotten? Like we just mentioned, he just sold his livelihood. This is what This is what his family, this is what he sacrificed. He sacrificed his family and his life for this company for the last 30 plus years. And to be like, all right, I got to depart with it and then I don't have any say anymore, it's a bit difficult. Yeah, you want to see it expand and grow and thrive, but you can't, part of you wants to keep going. I mean, it's like me doing this podcast on this channel for 30, 40, 50 years from now and saying, all right, I got to get rid of it. It's hard when you spend all those years sacrificing relationships, time, friends, family to put on the show each and every day and then be asked to step away from it. Maybe this is a short-term thing. Maybe we're looking too far into it. I don't know. I'm going to enjoy it because we're still wrestling fans. And one thing that I want to point out about endeavors, all right? Endeavors, we can see, and parts of endeavors grow within the WWE over the next few years. And one of the big things that caught my attention in what I was listening to over the last couple of days was this big X factor going back to pay-per-views where you're paying $69.99 a month to watch whatever pay-per-view is have. Now, I think that would work if the WWE had less or fewer pay-per-views, But I also think if that does happen, and there is what I say about 50-50 chance saying that could happen. It all depends how much Endeavor wants to, throw on top of the WWE and have them implement. But what happens is WWE goes back to paying pay-per-views. Who's going to spend $60-$70 a month? And I was hearing someone talk about this, and they're saying stuff about how how Dana White, right? When UFC went pay-per-views, Dana White also stopped a lot of the streaming services. So if, when you have a product out there that people enjoy, and you're going to now restrict them and having to pay more money on a monthly basis, this is a gut-wrench move. I mean, I'm not, and, by all means, I'm saying this now, we'll never see this, and I hope we don't. But just to think about this, all right? I've already explained to you why we are still going to be wrestling fans at the end of the day, and why we still are going to watch WWE regardless of if we are fans or not, right? That's just unrealistic. There's just no way that we're going to give up the WWE regardless of whatever the outcome is. We're going to watch it good or bad because that is what we are. Now, there's going to be fans that are not going to become fans, but I test to that because once you're a fan, you're an always fan. You're always will be a fan, and you would always turn back around to the product that you love the most. Now, that means, and that's the same thing I think goes towards pay-per-view. Whatever, even if you got to pay for the content, people will find a way to pay for the content because we want to watch the product. Okay, yes, numbers may go down, but it ain't going to drop so dramatically, all right, to where the point where Endeavors is going to take a fall, or the merge of UFC and WWE is going to get, say that this is going to be an issue. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take years. And at the end of the day, I think what's sad to see is that with how big the WWE has grown over the past 3 decades, right, and still thriving, this company move, all right, and Vince McMahon still being involved, I think it's just going to be a slap in the face of the WWE universe, saying that it's like being the Castellinis for the Cincinnati Reds, right? It's saying, We're going to be terrible. We don't care what you think because you're still going to come out and watch us, and you're still going to give us your money, and you're still going to buy our merchandise and tickets and concession stands, and you're still going to buy our product regardless if you like it or not. And that, without saying that, that's kind of like what they're like, what this opportunity is almost presenting itself. No, disagree with me? I mean, yes, there's positive things that can, I think there, is a security network beside, on the side of endeavors. But you know what? There's no, see, all these other sports have, uh, um, have a PA, right? They all have a players association. I think over the next, in my opinion, 20 years, 10, 20 years, we will eventually see a wrestling association to make sure and to ensure that protocols are being met, and the health and the safety of these athletes are going to be met. And also the security of these athletes going to be met. I know WWE isn't going nowhere, but it's quite frustrating, realistically, to see and to even just wrap your head around what is potentially to come down the road. And I think sometimes we jump to the worst case scenario, and that's what this hour number one has been about. Worst case scenario, whether we like it or not, we need to understand that nothing's going to change about it, and that we're going to have to accept it regardless of who. You're not telling me that you're going to not watch Monday Night Raw no more just because Vince McMahon is not on board. Now, some people have, like I said, have the desire, saying, all right, we have the tenacity, we won't watch it. But that's not going to change anything because people are still going to watch it. People are still going to go out. So, honestly, what are we going to do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I think it's just time to accept the faith and accept the truth and move on. Be like, all right, this is our livelihood. This is what we'll be talking about down the road. We got to suck it up and swallow the horse pill. WWE wasn't the only news this weekend because Tony Khan's been promoting a big, massive news. And I think this is quite massive when we talked about this. And, I didn't watch AEW Dynamite last night, but I tuned in because I had to know what was this big, massive news. And I was kind of skeptic because usually it's about, all right, here we're going to go start doing live shows. We're going to have this pay-per-view. We went to the West Coast, but we have to have some positive news coming out of the world of professional wrestling. And last night, Tony Khan has announced that AEW pay-per-view All In will be held at the Wembley Stadium in London on August 27th, 2023. Tickets go on sale May 5th at 9 a.m. BST. And I think this is massive news because they are pushing forward. They are bringing that European tour around and growing. And I think everyone just needs to grow moving forward. And I think this is a great opportunity as I have a fly here. And it's just lingering right next to me. Why? This entire house right next to me. So, but this is a huge monumental step, and I think this is also going to be the first true test internationally with professional wrestling and AEW on that stand, because they are officially moving up. They're moving into a larger arena, a larger stadium. They're going to a country that it has been not very well analyzed, I think, when it comes down to AEW. We know the success that the WWE has had in the past and the success that WWE has, but this is now going into unterritorial waters, if you think about this. And think about this for a second. Yes, people across the globe are knowing, are learning, are becoming fans of AEW, given. But at the same time, there are still maybe, I want to say at least 2/3, if not 3/4 of this world that have never heard of AEW. Now, the only way you're going to get your product out there is by going out there across the seas. And I think, I tip my hat off to AEW for doing this. But that's but I don't know. I don't know what type of reaction you're going to get, if it's going to be the one that you're satisfied with. And you think about this, it's a larger arena, larger stadium, Wembley Stadium, celebrating 100 years. And I think this is a good opportunity. I think this is a great opportunity coming from AEW, and I think I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what the outcome is. I'm excited to see what they can mass and bring from this. And, I don't want to see AEW. It's hard because I don't want to see AEW try to take cracks at the WWE for what's going on right now in the World Wrestling Entertainment sport industry. But I want AEW to thrive and, in the sense, work together. And hopefully at some point we can see everyone, and I mean everyone, come together, work together. And I think this is a huge opportunity. So congratulations to Tony Kahn making the announcement last night that AEW will be going to Wembley Stadium in London August 27th for the pay-per-view All In. Tickets go on sale May 5th at 9 a.m. BST time, which I don't know. I couldn't tell you that name. What BST? I know it's a coastal time, but I don't know what coast that represents. So, I'm not going, but we'll see what comes of it, and we'll see what happens. So, I subscribe button. Be sure to leave comments down below. Hour number 2, we're mixing things up, talking a little bit about other local sports, getting you guys ready for the weekend in college baseball. Cincinnati Reds will begin a 20-game, 20-day series starting tomorrow against the Philadelphia Phillies. So we'll get you guys ready for weekend action baseball and talk to you about everything that's planned to come up this weekend on the program. That's including a Sunday night baseball game. Excited to tell you guys all about that. Hour number 2 coming up next. You guys are listening to The Phone here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Hour number 2 is brought to you by Spreaker from iHeartRadio, the prominent audio platform of the Throwing. You guys can check the Throwing on all major audio platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and a lot more. If you guys are looking to upload your podcast, see all review analytics, you'll be able to monetize it and publish it along all major distributions. Check it out, Spreaker.com, for more information. Hour number 2 here kicking off, and we got a big hour underway. And we got a big day tomorrow and this weekend. And I'm excited because we are finally bringing to you the weekend that we have been talking about for a couple weeks. And this is all new to me, and I want to take a little bit of time to talk about it. First of all, we want to go ahead and promote an upcoming play called Love's Not Enough, presented by Enlightened Studios, written and directed by, Terry Chappell II. And this was an original play presented by Atlantic Studios back in 2019. And they COVID hit. They wanted to reintroduce this play to the public. And so back in January, Terry came to me, asked me to do a couple of projects for him. And that involved interviewing a handful of, actresses and actors, cast members that were going to be involved. So I interviewed a handful of them, and it was an exciting time. Had a fun time. They welcomed me with open arms. It was a hit, and they went on with the play that at the end of January, and they had a very, very, very successful time. And so Terry came back to me and said, "Hey, thought about the idea of guys, our cast coming back on and sharing their experience." And then it came into, can we have guest audiences come on to share their thoughts and what the story meant to them? But then the idea, and that didn't really kind of work out as well as we hoped because our schedule hasn't been able to mix together. So what we did was, it was like, hey, listen, can we come out and you want to come out and do a live show? And I'm like, I've never done a live show before. This is definitely new territory because it's not at a sports venue. And I said, all right, let's go. So tomorrow, our show is going to be held at 5 p.m. down at the Community Arts Center in Fairfield, Ohio. And I think this is monstrous. So we'll go 2 hours live before the show. Now, it's not going to be a lot about sports. I'm going to talk a lot about other things but sports. Talk about the play. And so we're going to be inside the concourse. And if you got tickets to the venue, stop on by the table, come on the air, talk to people, talk to everyone of your experience, what to expect, and let's have fun tomorrow. I'm nervous. Come help me not make me so nervous. I'm excited. And it's gonna be a great show. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come live from 5 to 7. And then we're going to head on over to the play, watch the play, come on back and get your guys' thoughts about the play. And we're going to do that again on Saturday, April 8th at 3 p.m. So actually we'll come live at 1 and then come to you, come afterwards as well. So we have a lot of things going this weekend because it doesn't stop with just Love's Not Enough. You got Easter weekend. And what better way than to come onto this program and call you Sunday Night Baseball, the San Diego Padres and the Atlanta Braves. Think about it. This is going to be a really good series. A couple good series is coming up your head this weekend. It starts today with the Braves and the Padres. And the reason why this is such a good game to call, and I thank goodness it's a Sunday night game, one, the Padres went to the National League Conference Series, right? NLCS. They lost to the Phillies, but they are a next team promising to contend for the next 3 to 5 years. Fernando Tatis, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Yu Darvish. I mean, this is a team that's 10 times better than the team that they put together at the beginning of all this back in 2014. But you also go up against a dangerous Atlanta Braves who stayed into the NL East for, the entire season, walking away with the division championships after surpassing the Mets who held it the entire year. That's just how good that NL East was. And the Cincinnati Reds will get a chance to head on over to Truist Park Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for a 3-game series against the Braves. So kind of getting a little pre-look. Okay, here's that flyback again. You can watch the show from there if you want. All right. But the problem with the fly is just they land in the nose, the mouth, the eyes. But yeah, kind of a bit of a sneak preview of what we're expected to see Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit about that here in hour number 2. So we have a pretty busy weekend for you, and hopefully that made up for being absent Tuesday and Wednesday. Come back Monday and then begin the week there. And I'm excited. I don't know if you guys are excited, but I'm excited. So we would love to see you out there. If you guys are in the local area and you have nothing to do this weekend, the Love's Not Enough, presented by Enlighten Studios, will be displayed April 7th at 7 p.m. and April 8th at 3 p.m. at the Community Arts Center in Fairfield, Ohio. Get your tickets now. They're running out. I tell you, it will be crowded. All right. If it's anything like Dave said, it will be packed. And we want to hear you come on the show, free, just volunteer. Hey, come down, come on the show. We'll do a live stream 2 hours before the show, leading you up until the show. And been working with Terry in a couple of different projects that you guys get to see. And I'm quite excited to see the outcome of all this. So come on out, support the channel, support the program, what we're doing, support Enlighten Studios. They're expected to take this play. They do more than just theater play. They do films. They do art, arts and all that fun stuff. And if you guys go out there, you'll see that they have a couple vendors out there. Check them out, and just let's have a good time. Have an Easter weekend good time. To have the girls Saturday go to the ball game, drop them off at home, head out to this venue, and then come back, spend the time, wake up with Easter. They're gonna send them off, and I'll head out, and then have the rest of the day to do whatever I got to do. So, but yeah, Love's Not Enough this weekend. Encourage you guys to come out and support everything. So April 7th, tomorrow, 5 p.m. Put that on your calendar. Either come there or tune in live. But college baseball is here. And because of Easter weekend, they're kind of having an earlier weekend series beginning today. So the Bearcats, and I know it's been a while since we talked about college baseball, but the Cincinnati Bearcats, who lost to Wright State back on Tuesday with the final score 7-6, will be on the road for a 3-game series against Memphis this weekend at FedEx Park, Avron Fogelman Field. The Bearcats come into the weekend series 12-18. Conference-wise, 1-2, 7-6 at home, 5-6 on the road, as they take on the Memphis, who are 16-14 and 1-2 on the AAC. Saturday for tonight, and it starts tonight, Thursday, 7 p.m. Right-handed pitcher Griffin Hughes for the Bearcats taking on right-handed pitcher David Warren for Memphis. And then tomorrow, come right back again at 7 p.m. where right-handed pitcher Chase Hopwell will be on the mound for the Bearcats, taking on Memphis left-handed pitcher Dalton Fowler. That'll be at 7 p.m. and then they'll wrap the series up on Saturday at 2 p.m. Memphis will have right-handed pitcher Seth Garner on the mound, as is yet to be determined the starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Afterwards, come on back and let's talk about the Musketeers college baseball team, who are nicely on a 7-game winning streak, defeating Miami, Ohio, 16-2 on Tuesday. They will get ready to kick off a 3-game series this afternoon. As a matter of fact, starting right after this game, against Butler at home. Musketeers come into the series 17-2 on the year. Conference, they have not played a conference game yet, then they are 3-2 at home. Friday, or today, first pitch is at 3 p.m. Tomorrow and Saturday, first pitches will be at 1 p.m. So if you guys have nothing to do, head on out. And something interesting about Xavier Musketeers basketball this weekend up and through next week is that they are honoring once again the Pledge It. Xavier baseball kicks off its Pledge It campaign this weekend against Butler as the Musketeers once again join forces versus cancer to raise money in support of the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. The campaign runs through 7 games, including the Butler Series, April 6th through April 8th, Xavier's weekday game as part of the Joe Nuxhall Classic, set for April 11th, and then the series against UConn, April 14th through the 16th. Donors can pledge a donation per hit or per strikeout the team collects during each stretch. The team will conclude the campaign with a head-shaving event after the game on April 16th to show support for kids across the country battling cancer. Fans wishing to support the fundraiser efforts can make a donation per hit or per strikeout, pledging that amount for the team's total of either hits or strikeouts through those 8 games. Sponsors can also choose to make an outright gift of any amount. The Musketeers last took part of the Pledge It campaign to support versus cancer in 2021, raising over $22,000. Xavier Baseball has worked with versus cancer since 2014 to help support children battling cancer, raising over $60,000 for the cause in that time. Those funds were in part used to help the Versus Cancer organization make a $100,000 gift to Cincinnati Children's Hospital. With the donation, Cincinnati Children's Hospital was assisted of being able to establish its proton therapy center, for one of the only 2 such centers in the world owned by Children's Hospital. So if you guys want to donate to the pledge, let me see. Fans can sign up now. Okay, so that's just talking about the sports net. And you can get all this information at the at Xavier's Athletics webpage. So donate now as they begin the series. It will go through until next week, and we'll talk heavily about that still to come. So, all right. Let's take a timeout and let's come on back and talk about those Cincinnati Reds. Their first series, but the first 5 games, because Wednesday was rained out. And trust me, those winds, those tornado watch and everything didn't issue a game. We'll talk about when that game will be played at. And we'll get you guys ready for this 20-game consecutive game series that they will have here. So a lot to talk about. Hour number 2 just getting underway. Take you guys up until 3 on a Thursday. Thank you guys for tuning into the Throwing here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Well, welcome on back here to the program. Thank you guys for tuning in here on a Thursday. Excited to be back. Big shout out to our friends over on Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media account the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link, and for more information, check out epidemicsound.com. Alrighty, those Cincinnati Reds are going to get a couple of days off as yesterday and today, heading into a couple game, 20 games in 20 days, and this is going to be the Reds' first true test to the season. Now they began the season off 3-2, and before we get to the 20 games in 20 days, let's kind of revisit and take a look at the Cincinnati Reds. Obviously, the first 5 games of the series. Now, we didn't play Wednesday because it was postponed due to rain and weather and tornado watch and the winds and all that good stuff that's included that we get out here during the springtime, right? I mean, that's just how it is. But they will be making up that game on September 1st. I believe that is a double header. Let me just double check that. Yes, they would actually be having a 3-game series. Initially 3-game series against the Chicago Cubs that time. And it's supposed to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they'll be making that game up. That game starts at 1:10, and then they will have the 6:40 game for that night. So that's when the makeup is happening. And then right now for inclement weather in Philadelphia, as they are expected to take on the Phillies today for the Phillies home opener, that game's gotten postponed for tomorrow. And that's why they have these. You understand that's why East Coast a lot of times has these home openers. All right, Thursday in case weather, and then you can play Friday because hopefully it'd be cleared up. So, let's talk about the Reds 3-2 over the past first home series, and I think it's a good notion, right? You kick off the season strong. Obviously, you didn't go in there and win the ball game, right? You didn't go in and open up the season with a win against the Pirates, and it kind of really for me took kind of a gut away, right? Took the wind out of me a little bit. Like, oh man, it's like, here we go. A lot of people, I wouldn't blame a lot of people to jump right back into saying, all right, we're going to be the same team that we were last year. Well, the good news is that we've already won 3 games and tied last year's month of April with those 3 wins. And hopefully that continues. But I think picking up the first series was needed against the Pirates, especially heading into a series with the Chicago Cubs, which at this point they have now split the series 1 apiece. They won back on Monday with the final score 7-6. And then the bullpen kind of got a little lackluster on Tuesday. And I think maybe this is a perfect advantage, having a couple of days off to regroup because they fell short. It was a close game up until the very end where they fell short 12-5. But we saw some really pretty interesting things coming out of the starting rotation. We saw Connor Overton, Nick Lodolu, Graham Ashcraft, even Luis Sessa was holding their own. And this first time around, I don't think it was that bad. 3-2 isn't technically bad. Every 5 games, if you could after every 5 days or games played, if you could be 3-2 or better, that's a really positive note. And Hunter Green was expected to pitch on Wednesday, but because of the weather, Hunter Green will get pushed to Friday to face the Phillies, which I think is also a little blessing this guys. This would be a great bounce back game for him if he can come up strong through this outing, because definitely the opening day outing was not something we were looking forward to. But let's kind of talk about this. So pitching wise, let's start off with pitching, right? Why not? Because pitching is the part and main focus points on a success especially for the Cincinnati Reds this year. And we know that we're going to have some issues with that bullpen. Buck Farmer, he's 0-2. pitched in 4 games. ERA is 9.82. In 2/3 of an inning, he's given up 2 hits, 4 runs, only striking out 2 batters. Not a great start. Revere San Martin, who EDRA is 9. Joel Cuno, 13.5. Connor Overton, 11.25. Okay, I guess understand it. But let's look at where these pitchers had. Besides Hunter Green, everyone went 4+ innings. And, we see on the top of the list Nick Lodolu, who I think is going to be a big, inspiration to this ball club. I really think that Nick Lodolu playing that second spot in the rotation, it's going to help both Graham Ashcraft and Hunter Green. Because besides Luis Sessa, Nick is more of a veteran when it comes right now to this rotation. And like we mentioned, this rotation is going to be expected to give you 5-6 solid innings to help your bullpen out, because you got nothing right now spectacular coming out of that bullpen. Look at the hitting side right now. Top number one person that you see is Jason Vosler. In 5 games, he's batting .333, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. And he's starting to show some signs of the question being asked, well, when Joey Votto's healthy, where does Jason Vosler go? And you look at a guy who is probably right now on the trade market already come opening day for the Reds. And so Jason Vosler is making a name for himself so that come July, it looks like maybe the Reds could deal him away. And I'm okay with that. Because I'm hoping by the time that Vosler leaves, if he gets traded, and that's a big if, because it's hard, depending on the health, on the health status of Joey Votto, maybe even Christian Encarnacion Strand. The idea, we don't really need him come July, because Encarnacion is, in my books, expected to come up if Votto's not ready, or he goes down with an injury. So I think we should be solid over there, plus with Tyler Stevenson. But he's definitely contributing to the ball club early on. TJ Friedel, 353, 2 home runs. We're not seeing a lot of depth power. I mean, everyone's starting to get on the board. We still have yet to see Will Myers hit that long ball yet. That proclaimingly, that's the reason why the Reds picked him up, is because when he hit, when he was hitting in San Diego, in Cincinnati, he was hitting it out of the park, and he was a great hitter. Reminds me of the story of Eric Hosmer. That's the reason why the Padres picked up Eric Hosmer in that sense. But, some batting averages above 300. We're seeing Kevin Newman, Spencer Sears slowly get into the swing of things. Jose Barrero, who I think we expect to get into the swing of things slowly. And then there's a couple of guys on the list. But I like the lineup, how it is presented. I like what our guys are doing. Oh, I mean, it's only 5 games, and I understand that. But you got to understand that this is an organization that a lot of people are expecting to be dead last in all of baseball. And they are a game away from picking up the series against Chicago. And they're about to head into this 20-game and 20-day scenario, which is kind of scary, right? So let's talk a little bit about that here. So they're going to kick, in 20 games, they will be playing 7 games against the Phillies, 3 games against the Braves, the Rays, and the Rangers, and then 4 games on the road to take on the Pirates. So this is how it's going to go down. We're going to see the Phillies in a 3-game battle this weekend. where we should have Green, Lodolo, and Grasscraft be steady. The Braves, who are coming up next, 3-game series, and then we'll be home to the Phillies, which I'm excited to talk about next week because Great American Ballpark, Replica, and I like it. I want to try to get to the game if I can, be my first ball game of the year, and then they'll be taking on the Tampa Bay Rays, and then they'll be on the road to Pittsburgh, then come back home for the Rangers to wrap up this 20 games. It's going to be what, 1, 2, 3 complete weeks before they get a day off to go to the West Coast to play Oakland. So let's look a little bit more into the depth of all this. All right, you're kicking things off against Philadelphia, who currently is 1-5, and didn't get out to a nice start against the Rangers, which they got swept by, or the New York Yankees, who they fell short 1-2. And this is a dangerous series if you are kicking the season off their home schedule, right? They are the defending National League champions. And I'm sure that even though the road series, did not work as well as they planned, they're eager and they're thirsty to get back home and to get the ball rolling on the right spot. And sometimes you need that home opener to really get things going for your organization. And if any organization can do it, Philadelphia is one of them. Now, yeah, they don't have Bryce Harper in the mix, but you got to face guys like JT Realmuto, Alex Bohm, Trey Turner, Josh Harrison, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos. This is not an easy roster. Plus, like I said, we're seeing Castellanos again for the first time in 2023. So we hope, if we're the Reds, we hope that they carry over that road series at home. But I don't know. I feel like there is a bit of a different outcome when you get, there's a different vibe when you get the first home opener and you get to play in front of your home crowd where they support you. Because let me be frank with you, New York was not an easy task. As a matter of fact, New York dominated them just like they dominated. I think the Yankees dominated. Basically, Philadelphia did not want to lose to Yankees and to New York. That was a tough series. They also had a tough series against the Rangers, who had made so many different acquisitions. They picked up Bruce Bochy, and look at the Rangers. They started the season off 0-3. So tough series. And then the Braves, who are 5-1, first in the NL East. And then we got to take on the Phillies again in a 4-game series, which we know how home games are going to be played. And then we got to take on the Tampa Bay Rays in a 3-game series, who are right now undefeated, the only undefeated team in baseball. Now, that's not much to say. They're 6-0, and things could happen. And by that time, they'll probably be like 10-1 or 10-2, right? But they're first in the AL East, and they're one of the teams that is going to get out to that early push. And just to sit back and imagine when we take on the Phillies, when we take on the Braves, when we take on the Rays, and we take on the Rangers, if we could hold our ground in this first tough 20 days, 20-game series, we could walk away 10-10. That's a huge win for this organization. This is 20 days where there's no resting. It's East Coast, which is not too bad. So East Coast, East Coast, East Coast. All right, then you head on down south to Atlanta. You face Atlanta, 3 home games, all at night, by the way. Then you come home to play Philadelphia for 4 games, Tampa Bay for 3, and then you just jump back up to the north to Pittsburgh, right? So, and then you come back home again, and then you head on off to the East Coast. So I really think that this is not a lot, but you have some dangerous teams and some dangerous factors heading into this series that I think is worthy enough to pay attention to. And like I said, if the Rays could walk away, if the Reds could walk away at least 10-10, 500, I'm a happy camper because this is probably one of the toughest series or consecutive game stretch that they're gonna have to play this season. I mean, yeah, come on, I don't see depending, right, especially early on. I don't want to jump too soon on how these other stretches are gonna go without seeing what's going on at that time of baseball. So there is going to be a 3-game series. Starting tomorrow, we will have Hunter Green taking on Zach Wheeler. And then on Saturday, we will have Nick Lodolo taking on Bailey Falter. And then on Sunday, Graham Ashcraft will be taking on Taiwan Walker. I'm thinking to myself 2-3. 2 out of 3 should be an easy score that the Reds could take to begin this road trip before they head over to Atlanta. Because I feel like the Braves in Atlanta is going to be a whole nother situation. And I think on top of this is my final point on this matter, but if we don't get up and get off to that 2-1, series victory over Philadelphia, the remainder of the 17 games is going to be just that much more difficult to handle. So, yeah, that's kind of where I kind of stand on that. All right, let's wrap up. Baseball wise, nothing really. It's only week 1, right? Nothing really shocks you. Pittsburgh's in second place, 4-2. After they fell short 2-1 against the Reds opening weekend, they come back and won 3 in a row. Milwaukee's won 5 in a row. A little too early to really say anything around NL Central today. No games going on. They all have the day off. Milwaukee is going to be home to St. Louis for the 3-game weekend. Pittsburgh will be home to the White Sox for a 3-game weekend. And then the Cubs will be home to Texas. So St. Louis and Cincinnati are the only 2 teams playing on the road, and St. Louis are playing a divisional game. So maybe some baseball, and we'll talk about this late tomorrow, but maybe some baseball to watch Milwaukee and St. Louis over the weekend if you cannot get the Reds and the Phillies like I can. Angels in Texas start off the season 4-2, and Cleveland is 5-2, and then the Rays. Other than that, right now, nothing really stands out. I wouldn't really be all that invested into the standings, at least until maybe mid-May, if not beginning of June. And that just all depends on, I take it series by series and where they're at series by series. So that's how it is. All right, let's take a break, head to the bottom of the hour, wrap up the program, and get you guys on out of here on a Thursday. Thank you guys for tuning in to the throw-in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Can never sleep in traffic, 'cause living steady panic. I know 'cause I try acid. Now I see through your habits, just like gadgets. You tell me with the 2 hands, I'm too bad. Wonder what your things are like. Need me to get your bills paid. That's what you said. I guess I'm just too fake for that. So sit down, listen, think for.
All righty, welcome all here to the program. Bottom half of the hour. Client's back wanting to join us. And I don't blame it. having fun, and we're gonna have a really big day, a big weekend, and I'm gonna once again tell you guys all about it here right after this quick promotional video.
Like no one can. Where is your heart? What does it look like? Bruised, damaged, or mistreated. Where is your heart? What does it look like? What do you do with the feelings you feel?
All right, let's kind of once again, as I talk to you guys at the bottom half of the hour, kind of just reiterate some of the things that what's going to be going on this weekend. If you guys want to join us, and that's going to start off by tomorrow night. Love is Not Enough, a theater play presented by Enlightened Studios, will be displayed April 7th tomorrow at 7 p.m. And then one last time on April 8th at 3 p.m. The design is for them to take it out on the road and be able to go and share the message and spread the word. That will be displayed at the Community Arts Center in Fairfield, Ohio. We will do a live program from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Like I mentioned, I'm very excited for the opportunity, very nervous, never done a full-on performance, and I really don't know what to expect, what to look forward to, all that fun stuff. So, hopefully it is as promising as it's been advertised. Get a chance to do that, and then we'll do it all over again on Saturday. Come back and do a 1 to 3 performance there. So that is what our weekend plans on, and then it's going to wrap up Sunday night baseball right here on the program. If you haven't got a chance, come out and check me calling the baseball games. That's just what it is. Join it. First pitch plan to be 7:08. Hopefully, give you more details tomorrow during our live and all that fun stuff. In our program today, we talked about Vince McMahon endeavors merging with UFC, all of that information, and really what does it mean for our fans. Basically, I just recapped, and in a recap, it means nothing. Okay, I understand that people are frustrated and people want to, shit the bricks and point fingers at Vince McMahon and all halt and say Vince McMahon needs to leave. And I don't disagree with you. But at the end of the day, as long as Vince, it doesn't matter if Vince is here or not. It doesn't matter if they play the Teletubbies for 3 hours on Monday Night Raw. We are going to tune in. And it's unfortunate, but we are going to buy the product. We are going to tune into each episode. We are going to watch every second of it. And regardless if we like it or not, there isn't nothing we can do about it. Us fans need to realize that if WWE is going to, maybe cut out the premium lives on Peacock and make you pay $60-$70 moving forward, then we're going to buy the product. There's nothing that we can do to stop that, to be honest. And it's the truth. And it's something that people don't want to hear. And I understand that, but we have to realize that this is the step forward. And, the only people who have the power to actually do something are the WWE roster and the employees that work for WWE. And you're going to have to get the entire roster to boycott or even to, protest if they want that change of Vince McMahon officially being done with the company out. They were all going to have to come together and refuse to not wrestle anymore. I mean, it's just that simple. So it's it's a product that us fans, unfortunately, are going to have to deal with it, good or bad. No matter what they put out there, we will still buy tickets to go watch the product. We will still watch it on TV. Yes, the it will go down. The profit will go down over time, but we're still going to watch everything that gets put out there because that we are fans and we're just glued to it. We are also announcing breaking news from last night. Tony Kahn and AEW is going all in pay-per-view at the Wembley's Stadium in London on August 27th, 2023. And tickets will be available May 5th at 9 a.m. BST time. So this was a massive news, and this is a good direction for AEW. Go out internationally, put on a killer hell of a performance, and I wish them the best of luck, and I hope they succeed, and I want them to succeed. Not because they're in competitions of the WWE, because I love professional wrestling to the point where there's no program that could go out there that I don't want to excel and succeed at. That's just how it is. So, big news, breaking news from Tony Khan. All right, also, the 2023 Masters is going on right now, live coverage. Tiger Woods golf scores a round one from Augusta National. And I think this was pretty interesting. Tiger looks like, this was a tweet from Kyle Porter. Tiger looks like he's really struggling through his warm-up right now. Doesn't seem great. You know what? Tiger is kind of on his last edge. His first round was at 8:10 this morning, alongside Alexander Schauffele and Victor Hovland. And listen, this is kind of like his last, like, off in the settings run, right? And we just let him go out there, have fun, do what he needs to do, whether he wins or loses. I think it's fun to watch. It's being a part of the Masters. So, great kudos to him. Want to give a big congratulations to men's basketball champion, NCAA men's basketball champions, UConn, for beating San Diego State back on Monday. Didn't get a chance to congratulate them throughout the week yet. It was a tough, scenario, a tough game. UConn they knew the dominance that they had, and they knew heading into the game what it meant. And they took care of business against San Diego State, and but I think overall, at my experience through March Madness, which, by the way, has been the most innovating March Madness, of all time for me, is that we saw that any team can make it. It's not Kansas State, it's not Gonzaga, it wasn't Alabama, it wasn't your ranked number one, and it really indicates that any team can make it to the Final Four, make it to the championship round, and hopefully, and that's what I like. I like to see the new teams. I like to see the teams that we really couldn't really point out and figure, all right, who's going to win? I got Gonzaga going to go win, this game. And that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it intriguing. And I knew it threw a lot of people off. And I was like, what direction do I turn into? I can't get a team behind a team. They keep on getting knocked out. And I hope that this is the beginning of the change to NCAA basketball, especially as you see conferences changing and renovating their teams. So congratulations to the 2023 NCAA men's basketball champions, UConn. and better luck next time to San Diego State. That's kind of bittersweet to see. Kind of wrapping it back around to wrestling. Interesting note on Tuesday. We saw Cora Jade return to chase down the NXT Women's Champion, Indy Hartwell. Couple questions coming out that I want to get to one today, and maybe I'll get to one tomorrow. But the big one coming out was Braun Breaker unleashes out an attack on Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams on Tuesday night. And so the first question that comes to mind is this a heel turn? Because it's interesting. WWE 2K23 has Braun Breaker as a heel. But in my last thoughts, he's been this baby face in it for NXT since he gotten this NXT championship. Now, yeah, Braun Breaker dropped the title, lost to Carmelo Hayes. And I was very disappointed not to see Braun Breaker get brought up to the main roster. And hopefully this is something that we could see by SummerSlam, but we will see, right, with everything going on. But to see Braun Breaker now attack Carmelo Hayes, possible heel turn, I think this does two things. One, this helps Carmelo Hayes. I'm not saying that Carmelo Hayes needs the help, but there's really nobody right now who's in the conversation of a title feud with Carmelo Hayes. Down the road, I could see Trick Williams turn on Carmelo Hayes looking to capture that title. That's another story, though. Right now, it's the same question to the next topic that I wanted to answer and talk about this program. Was that what's next for Wesley? He just got done through a incredible, probably match of WrestleMania weekend in this fatal 5-way, taking on JD McDonough, Ilja Dragunov, Dragon Lee, and Axiom, who, by the way, he beat Axiom Tuesday night. So what's next for Wesley? I think he just did every little thing over this title run that he's had over the North American Championship that you could possibly think of. And, for me, I think he's done it better than Carmelo Hayes. Wesley is not ready for the NXT Championship yet. So who could potentially come up? And as much as I would like him to continue facing these 4 men, because they all brought the best out of each other, Dragon Lee is one of the guys maybe I could see him in a feud with, but Dragon Lee, I want to move up to the main roster. Please give me that at some point. Sooner than later. He's just so good not to be up to the main roster. But I think that's the same question for Carmelo Hayes, right? Who can step up? Who could be the first challenger to Carmelo Hayes after Braun Breaker? And I think, you kind of now change the tone and dynamic. And being that, it's always great to be a babyface. You could always get over being a babyface. But I think if you could get over also being a heel and getting to that point, then I think Braun Breaker is going to be in steady hands. Now, I don't know if Braun Breaker is, how much longer he's going to be in the NXT. But I really don't see, just like among guys like Carmelo Hayes, to be honest, who I could see going up against guys like Tony Jan. There's a couple guys I can figure out, but who can Braun Breaker face? I don't know. I don't have that answer. I feel like he's gone through the entire roster and he doesn't have a next challenge. And I don't know the next direction for him in NXT. And just, it's not like I just don't know what's next in a good way because there's so many different directions. I don't think it's a good thing not knowing what's the next direction for Braun Breaker in NXT because I think he's accomplished all he can accomplish. He came up. He won that title. He's held and represented NXT, been that face front of NXT for over a year. And now it's off of him. So what's next? So those are, I guess, questions I think still need to be answered, right? Main roster? If so, when, where, and who? Not Roman Reigns, because he looks like he's been holding that on for quite some time. But I guess we will see. All right. Hey, 2 hours have come and gone. Very quick episode. Thank you guys for tuning on into the throw-in. We want to thank everyone who is watching us live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Don't forget to press those notifications. And if you guys are listening to us on audio platforms, thank you guys for being valuable listeners and making this your sports radio show, podcast show, whatever you want to consider this at. We'll be back again tomorrow live from the Community Arts Center from Fairfield, Ohio. The audio platform will be up later on in the weekend because it's a big weekend ahead of us. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and until tomorrow, you guys, have a great rest of your day. Take care.